Hi everyone, welcome back to Susan Dawn's Spiritual Connections. Welcome to a brand new Sacred Union Energy Update. I know you guys have been waiting for this. I apologize that I was not able to do readings prior to this. I had intended on it, but man, September just flew by, and I knew September was going to be a busy month, but I didn't know it's going to be quite like this. So thank you guys for your patience, and we're going to have a couple more readings hopefully this week, but stay tuned for these announcements. I have a couple of announcements before we get into the reading. We're going to do a little bit of a different reading today, but make sure you stay tuned because this is going to tell you what's ahead, what's to come, and I have some special goodies and offers for you guys as well. So first, let me try to get my thoughts in order. So I'm going to be doing some recording this week, and I'm going to have some scheduled posts for the next couple of weeks ahead because I'm going to be traveling for the next 3 weeks, starting next week. So it's going to be a little bit touch and go, hit and miss. I'll share more about that in the days to come. The next thing is on Wednesday, I'm hoping to do a special reading that is more of a set spread. As part of my tarot spreads collection, I have a reading called Shadows and Light. And I was really called to do this Shadows and Light reading for the Divine Masculine and the Divine Feminine. So we're going to do that on Wednesday. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and stay tuned for that. I think it's going to be a really interesting one. The next thing is, part of the reason why I've been so busy is because I have been rebranding everything. It's really speaks to the evolution of myself, and that shows itself in the evolution of my business. And I'm really proud of that. I'm really happy to see that. So I've been rebranding everything from all the graphics, all the design, all my journals, my spiritual guides, my courses, everything is getting a facelift, is getting a fresh look. So that is all done. Well, for the most part. The course, my Tarot and Translation course, is currently unavailable. It will be getting a facelift as well. I'm going to be re-recording that, so that's going to be available again in November. But the course book, which is basically a self-study book that you can, it's basically the course in a book form, is still available on my website. So that has had a facelift as well. It's just a cleaner, it's fresher look. All the content is basically the same, but it's cleaner, it's fresher. It's just gotten a little bit of a facelift as a result of my own evolution in my skill set with design work and stuff like that. And it's something I've been wanting to do for a while, and it's now. It happened now. So because of that, and because this is my birthday week, I'm celebrating turning 40 at the end of the week. I am doing a deep, deep discount on literally everything. So the decks, my message decks and tarot decks, are also going to be getting a facelift. That's not going to be able to come until probably towards the end of the year. So I am kind of getting rid of some stock right now. So if you would like to purchase any of my decks or the deck bundles, which are already discounted, you can do that this week. So these discounts are only going to be available, this sale is only going to run for this week only. So it is, I'll have all the information in the description box, but it's a birthday sale, 40% off all digital products. This includes my spiritual guides, my spiritual journals, the Ascension starter kit, which again is already heavily discounted. That includes all of the spiritual guides, meditations, transmissions, the Healing and Harmony activation series, the lifestyle series, which also includes like dream journals and self-care journals and things like that. Anything that is on my website that's a digital product, you can get it at a 40% discount, so grab it now. And then the tarot deck and bundles are available for 30% off. And the digital sale is available on Etsy as well, but the tarot and message decks are only available on my website so I can keep track of the inventory. And if anything this week says out of stock, just email me or wait and I'll see if I still have any in stock and I can put it back up for sale. So I just want to make sure I keep track of inventory for you guys. So if you want to grab anything of mine, now is the time to do it. 40% off of the digital products and 30% off of decks, the message decks and tarot deck that I have. Okay, so I'm very excited. It was, man, I was literally burning the midnight oil. Like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, I was like hyper fixated on this. And it feels right. It feels ready. It feels time. It feels like I'm evolving. And like I said, I'm going to be traveling for the next 3 weeks. So I wanted to make sure that it was all done and that we had a fresh look and a fresh start. And this really feels like a turning point. I'm going to talk more about my trip in the days to come. But this trip feels like a turning point. When I was activated to my ascension journey back in 2017, I had a similar experience where I was really learning how to love myself after a really difficult year, really difficult summer, really difficult past few years with the struggles that I had had with chronic illness. But that fall, somehow I had manifested a trip to New York. You guys have heard me speak about it before. Somehow I had manifested a trip to New York, and it was the first time I had traveled. And travel is a big, important piece of my life, but I hadn't been able to do it for so long because of illness. And somehow I had manifested a beautiful trip, and it was just magical. And it was with one of my best friends and soul sisters who's been on this journey since with me for a long time, and it was just magical. We were manifesting left and right. We were having long, deep conversations about spirituality, and I just felt very present and aligned, and I could feel the energy. I didn't have a conscious word for it back then, really, but I could feel the energy. And when I returned a month later, I ended up meeting the person that would be my ascension partner, the person that would activate me to my ascension journey. Um, I feel like this is a similar turning point. I feel like in many ways, this trip is coming full circle, both from the way that it manifested so effortlessly, something that I have been wanting to do for a couple of years now. It's a very spiritual experience, and I'm just extremely excited. So that's all I'm going to say about it for now. But I will definitely share more in the days to come, and I will likely have a reading or two while I'm away. But I am intending to be very present. I'll be sharing, but I am intending to be very present. So I'm going to probably limit myself when it comes to work, when it comes to answering emails and stuff like that. Please do feel free to continue to contact me and email me, and I will just get back as soon as I'm able to. Patreon subscribers, because I was not able to do as much as I intended for September, guess what? You guys get another freebie month. So October, your billing cycle will be paused. You will have October for free as well. So when I get back, I'll have more readings for you over there, and then we'll resume the billing cycle and everything else in November. And my business is going to expand to more courses and workshops and things like that. So I'm very excited for those offerings. And I'll also be back with services. So I have not been able to do personal readings, but we'll be back with that, with a more of a schedule. Once everything kind of calms down, once we get back into the swing of things. Okay, so that is all of the excitement that is coming up. Let's get into the reading. I have notes. My goodness. It has been an interesting past week or so. And I think, part of me working on the rebranding, when I do this work, when I do like a lot of the admin work or the design work or the creation work, which is creating my business or creating my journals and digital products and stuff like that, it's very meditative for me. I'm really tapping into that sacral energy, and so I get a lot of understanding and clarity and downloads. I'm really just communing with God, communing with the universe when when I'm writing or when I'm doing this like design work or creating work. And so it's interesting to me that I was called to kind of shut down and just do this kind of work because it brought a lot of clarity and understanding to my experience. Um, there's a couple of things that I want to mention. You might be having a lot of physical symptoms, especially womb healing or sacral healing. Um, Females, especially, you might be having symptoms within your womb center or difficult menstrual cycles and things like that. You might also be feeling a lot of sacral energy as far as emotions, but remember that emotion is energy that is to be released. Don't judge those emotions. Allow yourself to observe and feel those emotions. Don't attach to them. Allow yourself to release them and feel them and express them however it is that you need to. Especially for the divine feminines, you need to be able to communicate and express yourselves in whichever way that you want. I was talking to one of my soul sisters about communication. And number one, we were talking about how the universe really operates in symbolism, and that's the signs and the synchronicities that we see every day. But it also, you also, as a human, communicate verbally, and you need to be able to express yourself. You need to be able to express your emotions, your feelings, whatever they are, even the hard stuff, even the anger, even the pain. And that's the wild feminine within you. And the masculine energy is the container that holds that energy. Now, when we're talking about masculine and feminine energy, particularly when we're doing these readings, it is not just about the masculine and feminine energy within physical presence, within physical people. It's about the masculine and feminine energy within you as well. And so your masculine too, the person, your partner, also has masculine and feminine energy within them that they are coming into balance with, or that they're coming into union with as they're doing their soul growth, as they're going through their ascension journey. And so, divine feminine, recognize that as you are calling in a sacred partner that is able to hold the container of that wildness, of that emotion, of that expression of yourself, because you should never hold back your expression of yourself. You're also connecting with your inner masculine, who is able to hold that container within you as well. So I always encourage you guys to listen to these readings, both for your counterpart, yes, for your physical person, because you're on the sacred union path of ascension, which means that you're activated with a partner. You're doing this in some way, shape, or form with a partner. This could be that you're actually doing it energetically with somebody or in the physical form with somebody, but you have a relationship with somebody, some kind of physical or energetic connection with somebody. And so it's also for yourself, your inner masculine and your inner feminine. As within, so without. There's nothing outside of ourselves that's not experienced within. And it's also for the greater collective and how society itself or the universal consciousness is changing to reflect the union of the masculine and the feminine. So you can see it on all three levels. You can see it within yourself individually, within a relationship or a partnership, and within the global collective. So I always say that it's really important to understand all three aspects, that there's nothing that is not connected. Everything is interconnected. There's nothing separate. Okay, so that's really important to understand as well. So we're talking about communication and how it's really important to be able to express yourself. And sometimes that expression is anger. And anger is another release of emotions. And it's allowing yourself not to get caught up in the anger and not to act on the anger, but to feel anger or feel disappointment or feel sadness or feel grief. Allow yourself to observe the emotion, feel the emotion, and release the emotion, because that emotion is energy. So that's one message, and I feel like we might get deeper into that throughout the reading. The other thing that I experienced was seeing a lot of symbolism. And again, the universe operates in symbolism. The universe is always speaking to you. And communication, I was called to this. I was speaking with a friend, and I said, you know what? Somebody once told me, they were saying, like, they were giving the reference, the Tower of Babel, and how this person didn't like communication, doesn't like to speak. And I said, you know what? I feel like that just doesn't feel right to me. It's not about not speaking. It's not about suppressing yourself or your speech or your emotions. It's not about suppressing communication, withdrawing from that. It's about working together consciously to communicate, working together to understand each other. It's not about holding back and suppressing yourself and suppressing your emotions and holding everything in, but it's about being conscious about that speech, being conscious about what it is that you're communicating. Because it's not just about telepathic communication. We are humans. We have the ability to communicate with each other. The more that we understand each other on a conscious level, the more we're able to understand the energy and pick up on the energy. And that's where communion happens. That's where true communication happens. Because yes, speech can get very misconstrued, but that's where you also align the mind with the heart. That's where the communion and the union happens between the two, so that you can more effectively and consciously communicate, because you're not just hearing the speech and the words, but you're feeling the energy. They're showing me a book, and how books essentially are just words on a page. But when you, especially for novels, for example, when you are really diving into it, you are actually seeing images in your mind, seeing scenes in your mind. And not only that, but you're feeling the emotions that are behind the words. Books are literally just words on a page. It's just typeset. It's black and white. It's just paper. It's just print. But it's also so much more, because it's the energy behind it. And it's because of the consciousness, of the intention and the energy. That's what you're picking up on, and that's what's communication. That's what's communicating with you. And so, especially when it comes to communicating in healthy ways with one another, it's not about shutting the book and throwing it away or pushing it away. It's about working consciously together to communicate, to understand each other. And you do that through uh, speech, healthy speech, conscious speech, being mindful of your words, being mindful of that alignment, that you are in alignment, that you're embodying essentially what you believe with what you say, and that you are also tuned into the energy, embodying the energy of it. You can't have one without the other. Remember, everything is interconnected. I experienced a bunch of different symbols this week. I was literally on my way to the vet, and I saw a truck pass me that said, "Everything is possible," in big yellow letters. "Everything is possible." And I said, "Okay, universe, I see you." I see you. I saw two mourning doves in the bird bath, and I glanced at them really quickly, and then I continued what I was doing, and Spirit was like, "No, Susan, bring your attention back. See what I want you to look at." And so I looked at the bird bath again, and I realized that they were actually mourning doves. Mourning doves are symbols for peace, faith, spiritual wisdom. So it was really beautiful to see that, and that Spirit was really bringing it to my attention. So pay attention to the symbolism, pay attention to the energy that you feel around the symbolism that the universe is communicating to you, and pay attention to the conversations and the energy within those conversations, and especially within yourself. Are you communicating effectively? Are you communicating consciously? Okay, so that was one thing. The other thing, the last Sacred Union Energy update, we began to channel the energy of a lock and key. One of the recent Sacred Union Energy updates, I can't remember. But the lock and key has been coming through again over the past couple of days. I was listening to music as I was doing my rebranding and working. And I had a playlist, but the playlist ended, and so it goes to like random songs that I've never heard of. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing the phrase locksmith. And I look down, and it's the song Locksmith by, I think her name is Sadie Jane. I'd never heard the song before, but all of a sudden I'm tuned in and I'm paying attention. And it's a beautiful song. And the lyrics go, "This is the last song I'll write about you. I need to move on. I think you do too. You were all that I wanted. You know you still are. No matter where we are, you'll still have my heart, 'cause I locked it, and I promise you're the locksmith." And that really rang true for me, and I'll share why in a minute. And then last night, I got called to watch The Greatest Showman again. And what's interesting about this is that this almost felt like a response. It felt like the first song was the feminine energy, and it feels like this is the response. This is like the masculine energy. It feels like that's coming through. And it's the song The Other Side. And the lyrics were, "I ain't in a cage, so I don't need to take the key. Can't you see I'm doing fine? I don't need to see the other side." And that's the resistance. And if you've seen The Greatest Showman, this is where, what's his name? Zac Efron. It's Zac Efron and Hugh Jackman. They're doing that whole scene in the bar, which is amazing and blows me away. And I can't believe people are that that talented in dance. It's an amazing scene. And Hugh Jackman is trying to encourage him, "Come join the circus. Come join us." And Zac Efron's character is very highbrow and very, very stubborn and very resistant. But in the movie, he ends up just breaking free and saying, I've never felt such joy in my life, and I didn't realize that I was actually in a cage. You broke me out of the cage. But in this scene, when Hugh Jackman is trying to encourage him to join, he's saying, no, no, no. I'm not in a cage. You think I'm in a cage, but I'm not. And I feel like that's the masculine energy, that denial, that avoidance, that resistance, saying, no, no, no. But that's all ego. You see, that's all ego saying, I'm I feel trapped, but I'm trying to convince myself that I'm not trapped. And you can see in that character the difference in his energy, how he's kind of given up. He's resigned himself to the life that he thinks he has to live. And he doesn't realize until Hugh Jackman comes along that there's another alternative. And it might look crazy to the outside world because there's a lot that he has to give up for that. Maybe even some dreams of his own, his inheritance, for example, that he has to give up. But what he gets is a much greater reward because he frees himself, liberates himself within himself. And so it's a very interesting dynamic that very much feels like the masculine energy, where the masculine energy has been very much in that resistance of, what do I have to give up? Well, you're not giving up anything. You're just giving up what you think is where you're meant to be in order to go where your soul is actually trying to take you. And that's the resistance that the masculine has really experienced on this journey. The feminine has always kind of surrendered to this journey. We talked about that in the last Sacred Union Energy update as well, or one of them. We talked about how the feminine has always kind of just allowed herself to follow her heart and be in alignment with her soul, even though it looked crazy. And that was crazy for her because she had never experienced that before until she met her masculine. And she said, you know what, I'm going to drop all my guards. I'm just going to go with the flow. I'm just going to allow my heart to open up and let it lead me. And it might have led to some pain. It might have led to some disappointment because of expectations. But throughout the course of this journey, she's allowed herself to continue to trust herself and trust her intuition and follow that heart. And what it's led to is monumental growth and self-love, understanding unconditional love, coming home to herself. Huge transformation. And the masculine is beginning to understand that too, to understand that they were kind of trapped in a cage of their own making, from their own mindsets or their own perspectives or their own beliefs. Belief work is crucial when it comes to your healing because a lot of beliefs aren't actually our beliefs. A lot of those beliefs come from programming or come from conditioning or other people, or it comes from a past version of ourselves, and we no longer are aligned with that belief because we're no longer aligned with that version of ourselves, and we're no longer aligned with that life. And so that's where change happens. That's where growth happens. But you have to allow yourself to break free. So really interesting energies about the lock-in, the key. I have a feeling that's going to continue to come up. The last message for the lock-in key that I got was today. And what they said was, your union is incredibly sacred. It's not called sacred union for nothing. It's incredibly sacred. Now, when it comes to union energy, there has been a lot of corruption, misunderstanding, and misconstruing within, particularly the twin flame community. Many, many years ago, the term twin flame was not mainstream as it is now. And that's where it kind of got off track. That's where it kind of got off course. It's always about coming back home to yourself, and you're doing this in union with another person. We go deep into that in the Journey to Union. I'll link that in the description box below, especially if you're new here. Hi, welcome. I'll link that in the description box below. It's always good to have like that refresh too as far as what the journey actually is about. Yes, it's about, your work with a partner. Yes, it's about a relationship and connection with a partner, but that's almost like the aftermath. That's almost like the I don't know how to put it. That the true part of your journey is understanding unconditional love, understanding union within yourself, and you're activated to that with your partner. You experience that with your partner. You go through that journey with your partner. You're catalyst for each other, and the relationship and the journey and your connection in your physical world and your human experience is part of that. Of course, it's part of that. You're human, and there's nothing wrong with wanting relationship. We have relationships with everything. We have relationships with ourselves. We have relationship with our family. We have relationship with friends, our animals. We have relationships with money, with job. And our job is to work on beliefs around relationships. What are our beliefs around relationships? And how is that holding us back from ourselves in many ways? All right. So what they were saying is that your union is truly sacred, and there is this almost like this protective bubble around sacred unions right now, around counterparts right now. We had channeled that as well in the Sacred Union Reset. If you feel like you're getting called to go within more or to pull back more, it's because your sacred union is coming into physical form. It's because you're on that path, and it is meant to be coming. It's like I'm seeing this energy of giving birth into physical form. Your union is here. It truly is. It was almost like hijacked and gotten off track, but I feel like there is a repositioning, a realigning, and we're now back on track. Links are in the description box for everything that I reference here. I just don't want to repeat myself. But these unions are sacred. And because of that, it's almost like there's this protective bubble around the energy. Now, don't affix to a specific person or a specific outcome, or how do you think that union should come into being. Liberate yourself from that, free yourself from that. Allow yourself to really anchor into your presence, anchor into your path. Feel that joy in what it is that you have in your life now, what it is that you're creating versus looking at the past and looking at the lack. Okay, so we're going to do something a little bit different today. I got called to pull out these two decks. I feel like this is going to be masculine energy and this is going to be feminine energy. So let's just kind of see what is it that we need to know. And again, we're going to do more of a deeper dive with the shadows and light spread over on Wednesday for the divine masculine and divine feminine. But I want to see just kind of where we are in the collective right now. So let's get a card for the divine masculine, please. Karma releasing. Yeah, Saint Germain. I'm not surprised at all to see this because I do feel as if the divine masculine is going through a process of liberation. Remember, processes do take time, but it is a process of freeing oneself. And I'm also getting the word reclaiming. I feel like the divine masculine is reclaiming aspects of themselves or parts of themselves that they might have denied or resisted. Maybe even parts and aspects of themselves from the past. That they had denied or resisted. I feel like there is a lot of, I'm getting removal energy. So there might be some changes within their physical life. Maybe there are relationships that are ending or friendships that are dissolving, that maybe were not in alignment or that maybe were toxic. There might be physical changes like job changes or moving or things like that. But all of that is karma. Remember, karma is a neutral energy. Karma is a neutral energy. It's what you do with it. Everything has actions and consequences. Everything has it's on a spectrum, right? So if you make choices out of ill intention, for example, well, then the results of that is going to be more on the negative side, the negative spectrum. If you are making choices and actions and behaviors, if you're embodying your higher self, then you are going to be attracting in more of the same. Karma is just energy. And so we have move beyond drama, create your own path, make room for good energy. So yeah, I feel as if there is a shift. I'm getting the word illumination. I feel like there is a shift that is occurring. And I feel like the new moon might have created room for that as well. I feel like the new moon might have brought in a desire for higher manifestations, a desire for almost like a different life. Yeah, and even some communication. We've been channeling, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so what's interesting about this is a desire for more communication, a desire to express oneself. And we talked about expression of self in the very beginning of the channeling here. What they just brought to me was I was talking to a friend, and she's going through this journey, but in a very different way. She is doing a lot of self growth and self development work with her partner, but she doesn't use the word twin flames. She doesn't really adhere to that language, which is fine. Everybody's on their own path. Everybody's path is going to look a little bit different, but it might have the same energy. So she's with a partner, she's experiencing the same kind of dynamic that we who call it twin flame or sacred partners do, but she does the work in a little bit of a different way. It's more of like a self growth, self development kind of angle where she's learning about herself, she's empowering herself, she's understanding healthy communication through like listening to podcasts and learning through books and things like that. And it's really beautiful because you can see the healing that is happening between the two of them, and how they're both making the effort for their relationship and for their connection. And what she shared with me was that her person is actually having conversations about her with his family members, particularly with his female family members, particularly like his mother. And I said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "I channeled that a week ago," and I showed her the post. And I said, "That's literally what I channeled for the Divine Masculine. That the Divine Masculine is going to be having conversations, perhaps with a sister or a soul sister or a mother figure or even like female friends or something like that. It's very feminine energy oriented where the masculine is opening up about the connection, maybe even about themselves, becoming more vulnerable and becoming more intimate with their expression. That's what this energy is. And so that really confirmed for me the channeling that we've been doing. And you guys have emailed me as well to confirm certain aspects of these channelings, which I really appreciate because this is freaking hard work. I tell you that all the time. I've had to learn how to trust what I channel and to trust my intuition and what comes through, but man, it is hard, especially when the 3D for my own life feels very counterintuitive. But I've had to learn how to really just trust in what it is that I receive. And so for her to say that, I said, I can't, like, I literally channeled that. That's what this feels like. With Mercury, we has just gone direct. They're bringing to me Mercury has just gone direct. It was in retrograde, and Mercury in retrograde is all about the inner self. It's all about self-reflection. And now I feel like that self-reflection with Mercury going direct is going to be expressing itself more outwardly, more openly, more it's almost like what I'm getting is from the outside or from the inside out. So a lot of the reflection that they're doing, rather than keeping it within themselves, they might be having conversations with other people and learning through those conversations. You know, conversations are healthy. It helps us to learn, it helps us to connect, it helps us to relate to other people. And so there's a lot of growth that I feel can be had from that healthy communication. And again, there's a difference between communication and conscious communication. Conscious communication is where it's at. And I feel like the Divine Masculine is beginning to release old energy around suppressing their emotions, suppressing their feelings, suppressing their self-expression. For the past year or so, we have been channeling that the feminine energy within the Divine Masculine is rising. And what that means is as the feminine energy rises, it's no longer suppressed, it's no longer resisted, it's now embraced and honored. As the masculine embraces and honors the feminine energy within them, they come more into harmony, and I'm hearing the word attunement with their own inner masculine energy, their divine conscious masculine energy. There's a difference between wounded masculine and conscious masculine. There's a difference between wounded feminine and conscious feminine. As the feminine energy is honored, the masculine energy rises, where he can be more in his integrity, his authenticity, his truth, his leadership, and he's able to offer. To offer and to provide does not mean necessarily material gifts and objects and things like that. To offer means to offer one's presence, to offer a safe space or a container to hold the emotions of oneself and of others, to hold that space, to hold, especially for the Divine Feminine, that place of safety and connectedness and security, which is all she craves. The more the masculine is able to offer that safe space for the feminine, the more she opens up and blossoms. And as she opens up and blossoms, she magnifies the energy that the masculine gives her and gives it right back to him in this beautiful, infinite loop, this beautiful infinite dance and exchange. But the masculine has to lead. It is just like a dance. The masculine has to lead, and the feminine has to feel safe enough to surrender to his leadership. And she will not do that. She will feel energetically whether it's safe or not to surrender to him. And that's when, if she does not feel safe enough to do that, if he's not consistent, if he's not present, if he's not direct in his communication, direct does not mean control. Direct means openly expressive. Direct means allowing him to be vulnerable, to be consciously articulate, to be self-expressive. If he is not those things, then she will close up. She will shut down. She will turn to her own inner masculine to protect her, to lead her, to guide her. She wants to surrender to the masculine energy, but she will surrender to her own inner masculine. So I feel as if the divine masculine is beginning to really have this illumination on what feminine presence, energy, and honoring truly is. Because they're starting to recognize that within themselves. And as it happens, the masculine rises because the feminine energy pulls the masculine up, has them rise, helps them to rise. It's a beautiful energy. The masculine energy, let's not undermine what the masculine energy is. The masculine energy is a warrior. He is a free spirit. He is a conscious energy, but it's an active energy. He rises. The feminine energy pulls that up. She allows him to express himself by that example. So it's beautiful, beautiful energy. Yeah, look, we have awakening presence. That's exactly what's happening for the divine masculine. This awakening that's happening. All right, now let's get some cards for the divine feminine. All right, what's going on for the divine feminine? What's going on for the divine feminine? I'm also getting drawn to this eye over here that's like above his head. This is like the third eye energy. So they're getting a lot of intuitive downloads, intuitive hits, and I feel like they're trying to piece these puzzle pieces together. They're trying to put it all together and understand it. The problem is what I'm hearing is many of them are still trying to understand it from a logical space rather than from an intuitive space, rather than from the heart space, and that's what's tripping them up and continuing to create some resistance. I feel like the more that they tune their logical mind into their heart and put those puzzle pieces into place within the heart space, the more everything's going to open up for them. But there's still some stubbornness, there's still some resistance, there's still some ego, there's still some blockages there. But I feel like that's part of what's the karma that's releasing. I feel like they're beginning to open up for that. And the more they open up, the more like the world opens up, the more magic comes into their life. And they're recognizing that the divine feminine had a lot of magic within her. Doesn't mean that the divine masculine doesn't. That's her inner feminine, right? You cannot separate the two. That's what's really important to understand. We cannot separate the two. Just because we're talking about the beauty and the honoring of the feminine energy does not negate the masculine. The masculine has their own beauty, their own magic, their own honoring. You can't separate the two. You have both masculine and feminine energy within you. One is not superior to the other. That's what union is. You work together. It works in tandem. It works in union. So, but I feel like the divine masculine is beginning to recognize the magic that the divine feminine brings. And the more that they tap into that feminine energy within them, the more they create that within their own life. Divine feminine, what do we need to know for you? We have sorceress. You are a magical person who can manifest your clear intentions into reality. Exactly what we're saying. She is magic. She is harmony. She is beauty. She creates that harmony in her life, and that's because she's in tune and alignment with her heart. She's in tune, in alignment with her soul. with her higher self. She's embodying. Because she's embodying, she manifests effortlessly. Because she's embodying, she's in alignment. So that means that she is creating more magic and harmony in her world. And that has a ripple effect to all those around her. All right, so let's get another card here. Divine Feminine. What do we need to know for the Divine Feminine right now? What do we need to know for the Divine Feminine? We have infinite supply and compassion. Divine Feminine, I'm getting this energy of burnout. I feel like there might have been a little bit of a compassion fatigue for you, where you might have been holding space a lot for others, and really struggling maybe even to hold space for yourself. You might have experienced a lot, especially on this journey, but you might have experienced a lot of purging over the past several months, a lot of releasing over the past several months. And you might have been struggling to hold that space for others and even yourself. But I feel like Spirit is saying, tune into the infinite supply that is God. Tune into the infinite supply that is the universe. That is your source. Don't look externally for your source. Turn to the universe, turn to God's source, because that is your source of unlimited love and unlimited compassion. Don't seek externally for what is within you, and what is within you is God's source. A very beautiful and powerful message here. I'm not getting much else for the Divine Feminine, so let's get a couple of tarot cards and just go a little bit deeper. Like I said, I want this to be a little bit of a quicker reading today, but we're going to go do a deeper dive on Wednesday. Divine Masculine is starting to create in his tangible world, and I'm feeling starting to take their step forward. I'm getting this energy of if this is somebody that you have not met yet, then there's stuff that's happening, even if this is somebody that you've met. This is stuff that's happening behind the scenes that you might not be aware of. This could be relationships ending, divorces, things like that. This could be job changes, changes in finances, creating more stability. That's energy. It's creating more stability where there was chaos. That's what's happening. I feel like they're taking those steps to create more stability within their lives. And part of that stability, part of what might come from that stability might be endings where there was chaos, endings where there was discord, endings where there was instability. So they're taking steps forward, however that looks like in the physical life, but I feel like you're not seeing it. I feel like you can't see it yet. You might not be aware of it, whether this is your person or that you've known, or whether this is somebody that you've yet to meet. Remember, there are different paths that are opening up. Just allow yourself to release, allow yourself to just be open to every possibility. Because the energy that you're feeling, Divine Feminines especially, I'm speaking to you, the energy that you're feeling is very real. We might have applied that to certain people. Trust in your intuition, what you feel is true for you. But most importantly, rather than affixing that to a certain person, trust in the energy. Union is an energy. Twin flame is an energy. And tune into the energy, trust in the energy. We would not be channeling Sacred Union. You would not be on the Sacred Union path without purpose. So you can trust that your union is manifesting. The work that you've done, the consciousness, the frequency that you've shifted, it's all for purpose. And you're going to be experiencing that with a partner. That's one of your desires. You're going to be experiencing that. But allow yourself to release the expectation. And again, be very present in your life. For myself, I cannot believe the amount of peace that I have felt from just allowing myself to accept my present reality. I feel like I have really, in the past week, closed the door in the past version of myself, the past version of my partner, the past version of what we were and what this journey was, and what I thought Sacred Union was. There's nothing that the past can offer me now, especially as I've shifted so much into this new energy and really anchored that in and embodying that now. I'm a very different person than I was at the beginning of this journey, and I'm very grateful for that. But that's where I've allowed myself to release, and there's just such an energy of peace and presence that comes from that. So allow yourself to release and just focus on what is. Focus on your path. Focus on where you're going and what you're creating. And your person, we've channeled this before, your person's going to meet you there, and they're going to be walking the same path. You might not even be aware of it, but you're just focused on you, and your person's going to meet you. And that's the bridge. That's the bridge of the heart, because they're building from this end, you're building from your end, and that's what you have faith in, that's what you trust. But you can allow yourself to release and just trust in the energy. And that's where you have faith in God. And we've talked about that in the past. But I feel like this person is building and taking those steps forward. Knight of Pentacles, the slowest moving card in the deck. He takes his time, he's patient, but it's because he wants to do it right. It's because he knows he needs to do it right. He needs to build that foundation, especially in order for there to be trust for the Divine Feminine. There needs to be a steady, stable foundation that is built, and I feel like that's what they're doing for themselves. They recognize that the tower had to crumble because they were not in alignment. Their life was not in alignment with their true self. And so that tower had to crumble, as painful as it was. But that foundation, there were cracks in the foundation. It wasn't stable. And so now they're taking their time to build a much more stable foundation so that they can offer everything that they want to and need to for the connection. And not only for the connection, but for their life as well. They're realizing that they want different for themselves, that they want more, that what they thought they were in, I'm just getting drawn to the Greatest Showman again, they thought that they were living a life and that was it. That was it for the rest of their life. But they were somewhat in limited thinking. They were holding themselves back and not recognizing that everything is possible. Again, one of the signs that I saw was a big old truck that said in big yellow letters, everything is possible, or something like that. And that's what they're beginning to really understand, that everything truly is possible. But it starts with them, and they have to put in the action, they have to put in the effort in order to do that. And sometimes it just takes that first step, and then that next step, and then that next step. And they're beginning to understand that and do that, and put that into place. Yep, Three of Wands, exactly. They're really beginning to see ahead, a look ahead, to see what it is that they want to create and draw that towards them. They're making decisions, and not only that, but they're beginning to take action. And that is divine masculine energy. Again, divine masculine energy is action oriented. They are active, not passive. And so I feel like they're really beginning to look ahead and create and manifest. And not just manifest, but put that into practice, to put that into place. Let's get one more card for the Divine Masculine. Yep, Nine of Pentacles. This is creating that stability, that sense of independence. The Nine of Pentacles, she has everything. She has everything. They don't need anything. They're very self-sufficient. They're very independent, especially when it comes to finances, stability within finances, and not just finances, but materially. It's a very grounded energy. It's very grounded. It's very healthy. So this is creating that stability. King of Wands, taking action, and the Sun. The happiest card in the deck. What do we have for the Divine Feminine? The Hermit. Yep. Divine Feminines, again, you might be called to kind of draw back a little bit in your energy and just keep going within. This doesn't feel going within as in like in a cave. This doesn't feel like a Four of Swords kind of energy. It doesn't feel like you are withdrawing. It just feels like you're more internalizing, like you're just being self-reflective and trusting your inner path, trusting your inner knowing versus the 3D, the physical. It's not looking outside of yourself. I'll share this. I was triggered this week with something that I was shown. The universe ended up showing me something with regards to my partner, my catalyst partner, that triggered me and brought up some anger because it felt very unfair in the way that I was being treated or the way that I was being spoken about. Like I didn't matter, like I never mattered. Like we didn't spend 6 years of our relationship together, like I didn't matter at all to him. Now, I could have gone down that spiral. I could have gone down that little rabbit hole and believed it. But I don't. Because I know what I've experienced. I know what my truth is and what I felt. And what I felt was that there was a lot of love between us. And whatever narrative that he needs to create now, that's fine. That's on him. But for me, and maybe this is a reflection of myself, I've always ever treated him with kindness and respect. Even times when he didn't deserve it, I've always treated him, spoken about him, and just treated him with kindness and respect. And I've always ever looked at our connection with a lot of gratitude and with a lot of love. Always. Always. And so when I saw that, it hit me in the stomach. Like my stomach just sunk, because I was like, is this really what he believes about me? Is this really what he thinks? Are we just going to ignore everything that we've been through together? I'm just nothing to him. I was never anything to him. Again, if that's the narrative that he needs to create for himself, that's fine, but that's not my truth. And so for me, it's about accepting whatever, he's creating, and whatever he believes, because that's his belief, that's on him, that's for him. But for me, it's like I know what I feel. And it's about trusting my inner guidance, trusting myself, and trusting my intuition. And maybe that's a narrative that I'm creating. Maybe that's my truth. But I would rather believe in the love that was experienced and that I felt than to push that away. So, divine feminines, I feel like trust in yourself. There again is that balance between accepting your reality and not looking at the past, and not focus on the lack, and not focus on the scarcity and what you don't have in your life. Be very present in your life. If your counterpart is not in your life, or somebody's not in your life, allow yourself to look at what is in your life and focus on that. Focus on the love that you have in yourself with your connection to God. Focus on the love that you have with your animals, your family, your friends, the joy that you have, maybe a passion project or a career that you love. Focus on the love that you do have, rather than the love that you feel is externally missing. Bring it back inside yourself. Bring it back to your within. What else do we need to know for the divine feminines? Yeah. That past, again. Don't keep focusing on the spilled milk. The Five of Cups energy is this energy of focusing too much on the past, that you're not seeing the forest for the trees. You're not seeing the two cups that are there. Don't focus so much on the past. That's where I feel like I've closed the door on the past. It's not to say that, something else can't be created in the future, but there's nothing that the past has to offer me anymore. So don't look at the past anymore. Yes, there might have to be some conversations if this is someone from your past. There might be some mending. There might be some healing that comes from conscious communication. Again, there's that word, conscious communication, healthy expression. There might be some healing that comes from conversation, some mending of the past, but you don't judge it. You don't hold grudges. You allow for that forgiveness and that harmony to come through. You allow for the love to come through. Don't focus on the past that you're stuck there. Allow yourself to have evolved. Allow yourself to have grown, because that is what you've done on this journey. You have evolved, transformed, and grown. And so if any fears of the past come up, allow yourself to remember that you're a different person than you were back then. You didn't know what you didn't know, and that's where you have lots of compassion for yourself. Again, you might be feeling a little bit of compassion fatigue. You might be having trouble having that compassion for yourself or for others, but turn to God's source as that source of infinite potential, infinite love, and infinite compassion. Turn to Kuan Yin too, is what they're saying. Kuan Yin being an ascended master who is the ultimate energy of compassion and mercy and forgiveness. Turn to Kuan Yin. She is just this peaceful energy. She's coming through now, reminding us she's this peaceful energy of, and I'm also getting use her pink flame. She has this pink flame that she's showing me. Use her pink flame of forgiveness. There's also a saying that she uses. They're saying Om Mani Padme Um. Om Mani Padme Um. A couple of months ago, I was shown that phrase, and Kuan Yin was coming to me. We were going to do a channeling on Kuan Yin, and I ended up not doing it because it just didn't feel like it was time, and then the energy passed, but I realized it was personal for me. A couple of years ago, I got my mala beads out, and I was just repeating that, Om Mani Padme Om Mani Padme and it just brought about this energy of peace, forgiveness, mercy, compassion for self, for others, and that could be a mantra for you as well. So she's coming through with this pink flame. Interestingly enough, it's similar to Saint Germain's flame of the violet flame of cleansing and clearing. But the pink flame, I feel like, assists that with not only the cleansing and the clearing, but bringing in a wave of compassion, bringing a wave of forgiveness alongside that compassion and that clearing. And that's where the union comes together. I'm seeing the two flames dancing together, working in harmony. And that's your union, essentially. Clearing the past, clearing that karma, but through forgiveness, through love, through healing. So don't focus so much on the past. There might be some clearing of the past, some forgiveness of the past, but bring yourself back to presence and remember who you are now. Remember how this journey has empowered you and transformed you in beautiful divine ways. Divine Feminine, be that beautiful divine presence that you are. Let's get a final card for the Divine Feminine. Thank you. Temperance. Yep. There's that healing. There's that mending. There's that compassion. There's that balance. Temperance, that energy of healing. And look at that beautiful, lovely rainbow there at the top. All right. I feel like we're going to end with a little bit of guidance, a little bit of how are you guys feeling about the connection. All right. Divine Masculine, how are you feeling about your counterpart and the connection? Divine Masculine, how are you feeling about your counterpart and the connection? Divine Masculine. Oh boy. Divine Masculine, how are you feeling about the counterpart, your counterpart and the connection? I'm just getting this energy of, I want to say this before I pull a card. I'm getting this energy of, I can't wait. There's this preparation energy that's coming through. There's this, it's not quite excitement. It's not like I can't wait, so I'm just going to charge ahead. I'm not seeing King of Wands. In fact, they're showing me, the Knight of Wands. In fact, they're showing me the Knight of Wands to say, this is not that brazenness. This is not that brashness. This is not that recklessness and impulsiveness. There's a more sincere, grounded energy that's coming through, and it's like, I'm working on it. I'm hearing the higher self saying, I'm working on it. I'm working on myself. Again, if this is the original counterpart, this is somebody who's going through a major growth cycle and transformation within the self, rebirth within the self. This is somebody new. This is what's happening behind the scenes that maybe you don't know. Maybe you don't know this person. Maybe you're unaware of exactly the growth and the transformation that they're going through, but they're going through a major growth and transformation within the self. And it's like, I'm working on it. I'm working on my stability. I'm working on grounding. I'm working on becoming the best and highest version of myself. Taylor Swift. There is something this summer about Taylor Swift, not just like her Eras tour, but I swear, like, the past couple of years I've connected more with her. One of my best friends is a major Swiftie, but her music, especially this year, has really been speaking to me. Ever since she came out with Evermore and Folklore, those are my favorite albums of hers. Her music has really been speaking to me. I've been listening to her music more and more. I wasn't really an active listener before, but I swear, her music like speaks to me like nothing else at the perfect time too. The song Happiness came through as I was letting go of my connection. The song Haunted was coming through as I was going through stuff. Like, every song has something. The song that is coming through now is Better Man. There's a lyric in there of, I just miss you and I wish you were a better man. That's what's coming through from the masculine, though, which is interesting. It's not the feminine saying that. It's the masculine saying, I want to be that better man for you. It's like, I hear your wish and I hear your challenge. And that's the thing. The divine feminine does not want to fix or change the masculine because she doesn't appreciate who he is. She wants him to be his full potential. I've always said the divine feminine's gift, which can sometimes feel like a curse on this journey, is that she sees the past, present, and future version of the divine masculine and loves every single aspect. She loves this divine masculine so much and so unconditionally. And she is challenging him. Her energy challenges him to live up to his full potential, where he may not have done that in the past. He might have rejected his potential in the past. And I'm getting the fear of failure. I'm getting a fear of rejection, a fear of abandonment. That's not coming from the divine feminine. That's coming from the masculine, from their own upbringing or childhood or wounding or experiences with other relationships. But that's what they have to work through. That's their own shadow that they have to work through and work with. Because I feel like they're recognizing, beginning to understand that they want better for themselves and that they can be better for themselves. And that the way that they were living, again, they're calling me back to The Greatest Showman and Zac Efron. It's like they thought that's all there was. They had almost resigned themselves to that version of them. But that's not all they're capable of. And their soul is urging them to be the best version of themselves. And that does not mean perfection. The best version does not mean perfection. It just means the best version in that moment. Consciously making the best choices that you can. And anytime you make mistakes, it's being aware of it, making amends for it. And that's where you take accountability. That's where you take responsibility in order to make amends. You say, I'm sorry. You, to yourself, to others, you forgive yourself. You have compassion for yourself. That's where you allow yourself to take accountability and say, you know what, I fucked up here, but I'm going to make a conscious choice now to do better, to not repeat the past. That's true consciousness. And again, you're human, so it's not about perfection. You're going to make mistakes, but it's about being aware of those mistakes and course correcting. You can always course correct. It's when you get into pride and stubbornness and resistance that you keep replaying and repeating the same loops and over and over and over and over. And that's the stagnation, right? But you can break free. You might not even realize that you're in a cage, but you can break free. And once you break free, you realize the door was always open. And I feel like the Divine Feminine, that's where the lock and key comes in. The Divine Feminine has always had the key. And the Divine Masculine is beginning to understand this. That the Divine Feminine was not holding the key to lock him in. The Divine Feminine was holding the key to set him free. And what's interesting about this is that's what the Divine Masculine did for the Feminine. At the activation of her journey, the Divine Masculine liberated the Feminine. That's where she began her ascension cycle. That's where she began her ascension journey. And she, rather than resisting it, she leaned into it. And again, that's what made it so difficult for the Divine Feminine, because she kept looking at the masculine like, come with me, journey with me. I want to do this with you. But there was such resistance from the masculine. But feminines, you had to go through this journey on your own. You weren't on your own. Your masculine was always there energetically, maybe even physically in some ways. Your masculine was always there with you, but you had to recognize that within yourself. You had to recognize that self-empowerment. You had to recognize your own inner masculine. That was your journey home to yourself. That was your journey to union. But your masculine held the key for you. You held the key for each other, and that's the sacred union. There is so much emotion. Like, I want to cry right now. There's so much love and so much emotion that is pouring out for both of you, for each other. Imagine the amount of unconditional love it takes for one soul to say to a lover, to another, I love you so much that I will activate you to the hardest journey of your life, the journey home to yourself. And I will mirror you, and I will show you your shadows, but I will also show you your light. But you have to be willing to look in the mirror. You have to be willing to look at yourself. I love you so much that I will be the enemy, that I will be the shadow. I will be the mirror for you. But only when you have the courage to look at yourself, you will see the light that shines in both of us, the love that shines in both of us, the love that shines for each other. Imagine the amount of unconditional love it takes for your souls to have said that to each other. That is unconditional love. It takes immense courage to look at your shadows, but it's only then that you're able to see the light. And you hold that key of light and love for each other. This union is a sacred one. It is a sacred journey. I'm not going to pull a card. I feel like we're going to end with that. I felt strong. I felt powerful. I felt incredibly loving. We're going to end on that note. We'll be back on Wednesday with the Shadow and Light Deep Dive. Make sure that you subscribe, make sure that you stay tuned, and make sure that you check out my website for all of the discounts and offerings. I'm sending you so much love and so much light.